We are Legion.
We are all.
We are one.
We are
Watching. Florida people not nutty.
Say that. Okay. Hey folks, how you doing? It's Greg. Really happy to be here. Kind of weird to be here with you today. I'm talking with somebody who's been a topic of conversation, unfortunately, much against his will, in the recent past. And the fellow I'm talking to today is a player named Darthkaep. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and I'm very thankful for you to be here. We've been in conversation here and there over the last few months as things have developed with your situation, and I'm happy to have a chance to actually talk to you about this. Before we get really into what happened and why you're here, I've done like featured fans and stuff for years where I talk to people and stuff like that about their interests and stuff like that. The reason that we're talking to you today is because of the situation that's happened with you, which is incredibly unfortunate and currently still unresolved. But let's start with where you began in the game and just give us your basic. How did I come to Star Wars Card Trader?
Well, I was born in '77. I was been a Star Wars fan. You remember going to the Return of the Jedi and stuff. I was in the Star Wars fan club when I was a little kid. I had the Revenge of the Jedi patch and all that stuff. So, I just been into it. And then I was really into baseball cards when I was like probably 10, 11, 12, around that age. Had my dad's brothers actually had collected a lot of cards from like the 70s that we stumbled across, a cousin of mine and myself, in my grandparents' basement. So I took those, and that was kind of before that stuff blew up. So they were willing to, they were happy to get rid of it because it was just taking up space in their basement, shoe boxes. And then in the late 80s, I guess the stuff started taking off. So started collecting that. Then we moved out to California. I originally lived in the Midwest in Wisconsin. And when we moved, that was right when I was getting ready to go into high school and kind of got away from cards, I guess, or whatever, but I always still like Star Wars. And then I'd say like when the new movies came out, when The Force Awakens came out, kind of just got interested, just in Star Wars again. I mean, I always was, but just kind of looking for new things to do. So I think I downloaded few different apps. There's like a game like EA Sports did and stuff. And so one of the things I've always been someone who likes new technology, and I bought a little bit of Bitcoin, some of that kind of stuff. Just think, looking at what's in the future, I'm, a lot of times open to change. And the digital card thing seemed really cool. And I just liked the Star Wars guy. I liked the looks of it. And I thought it was kind of cool. And I liked how, things were numbered and you could chase after, one of one or one of 25 or whatever, and I thought some of the other stuff was pretty cool too. Like, some of the people do the hoarding and stuff like that. And just, I've always kind of like, I don't know, like I play a video game, Destiny, online, and I'm always trying to get like 100% of the triumph points, which is like, it's a basic score or whatever, but most people don't go after that. I don't know. For me, I just like kind of grinding away or chipping away at that kind of stuff. And so,
so this kind of hobby checks a lot of boxes for you as a collector and a person, just as a person.
Yeah. And so the digital cards, it was like, it's not going to take up a bunch of space in the closet, and you kind of pull it up and look at it whenever. And then it actually turned out my brother-in-law had the app a year or two before me, and he hadn't really been into it at all for a while. But then he was like, "Oh, I have some older stuff I can trade you or whatever." And so I just kind of got into it that way. Yeah.
Well, it's nice to have somebody already there to hand you a bunch of cool old stuff. You ended up with quite a collection, though. You obviously, you were a little slow starting, late bloomer there, but you took off and managed to accumulate quite a collection, and some stuff in there that was really dynamite. In a big collection.
Yeah. So I mean, to be perfectly honest, and this is where, like I said, I don't want to get myself in too much trouble, but we had refined. Well, actually, we had done like a home equity loan for some other stuff. Like we just I don't know, there were some things like landscape in the backyard, whatever. And I just had some extra cash. And so I did spend a little bit of money for sure. I think someone said I was part of the reason why what happened to me happened was I was on a list of, people that had spent some money and then walked away for a significant amount of time or whatever.
Yes, and that's where we start getting into the trouble with your situation, because here you were a collector for a while, and you'd been in it. You had a nice collection. You'd done a lot of stuff in it, but as a lot of people do over time, you lose interest or it's not as exciting anymore, and you'd kind of moved along, hadn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really intend to move away like permanently, but just for me, there is a point where, like, so I said, with those boxes we talked about checking earlier, I like to try to get 100% of, stuff and games I like or whatever. And it just became apparent that this wasn't going to happen because the constant, I mean, it was almost like monthly or whatever.
It's an arms race. They were always going to keep raising the bar on you.
Yeah. And it just got to be where not only was it just a different variants all the time and all of that, but then it was like some of this stuff just wasn't as cool as some of the older stuff, So like some of this stuff, like I really like the stuff I wasn't there for when it first came out, like Santa Cruz or Night Brothers, stuff like that. I like, there's the only way to get that stuff was either to really offer up a lot in trade or to like buy it off eBay, right? Or something. So that was just, that stuff was really cool. But then the stuff that was coming out, it was like, when I was playing, it was rare that there would be stuff of that quality or kind of like, in my mind, that was that cool, was being released. It was just, a lot of times it just seemed like, it felt like a money grab. So at some point, I had a daughter and it just like, it's just time to like kind of walk away.
Yeah, your priorities change and things, it's not as exciting as it was at first. And, you get those scratch off wins and feel great about it. Those kind of fade out after a bit. So timeline wise, where would you say it was that where you kind of drifted away? And in terms of what year was that?
I want to say maybe that was early or mid 2019. Somewhere around there.
So not that long ago. So you basically were you kind of tapered off and then you kind of went dormant maybe for a year or so. It sounds like maybe most of the way through 2020, but at some point you decided to go back and look at your account. Now in the intervening time, you weren't aware of this because you weren't involved in the app, but we had started to see a lot of old dormant accounts all of a sudden coming back. And there was this one person, this Digital Dynasty person, who very quickly was the one on almost a weekly basis was popping up with another old account. Oh, there's this account, there's this account, oh, this account. And all these old treasures that have been locked away and lost, so we thought, for all this time, were suddenly coming back on the marketplace. So at some point, where would you say it was where you came back in and had a look at your app?
This is going to sound funny, but so at one point, I think I had to sit on the toilet for a while and I just was bored and started looking through the phone. I pulled up the app and I do remember. So, and I want to be, honest and clear about this. At one point, I started looking actually through my Gmail account, and I don't usually use my email a lot. Like I'm not a big emailer. And I think it was maybe Christmas time, January, somewhere of 2020. I noticed there was an email it was a name, not a business, but it was a name, Charlie Swan, who's actually an employee at Tops, I guess. And I actually read that then and saw that it said, it was like kind of a, valued customer, we want to inform you some stuff about your account. It says, so I have this email printed here so I could look at it or reference it. It says the information did not include payment information. It's all bold, like underlined. It says did not include, there's no indication that the password associated with your app was acquired. It just says basically like your email and your username may have been distributed, right? So at that point, and this was a solid month or more, maybe 2 months after the email, I actually got the email. So before I checked it, So at that point, I'm like, oh, okay, let me go on my account and look. And I looked, and there's nothing wrong or different. Everything's there. So I was like, why do I care if they have my email, whatever? They're going to send me junk, whatever. I don't care. And then I guess like another month or two went by. I checked again, like everything looked fine. So I just didn't worry about it. But then like a couple months later, we started kind of getting into eBay. My wife and I did selling like some of her collectible Barbies and just stuff. I don't know. We're just kind of like clearing the house out a little bit. And I started thinking to myself, I wonder what are these cards getting for, value? What are people doing on eBay or whatever? Just kind of started just looking at it, like just wanted to see. And all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, where are these cards? And then that's when I was really like, okay, so, I guess like I said, I got an email from an employee at Topps saying, don't worry about your financial information. Don't worry about your password, but
Never said anything about don't worry about the cards in your account.
Right. And then like I said, and I guess credit to the thief, they waited a good 5-6 months before doing anything. And that kind of, I just assumed, well, I don't really have anything to worry about, because here I am looking at an email 2 months after it got to me and there's nothing wrong with my account. So, I guess, maybe that was my bad, but
no, it's not.
It sure would have been nice.
They were supposed to protect your information, and there was never anybody supposed to be knowing your email in any association with your username on the Star Wars Card Trader app. That was never intended. I guarantee you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just frustrating because and I think maybe I mentioned this on Reddit or you or whoever I talked to, but I've never been out of possession of any of my devices. Really, my cell phone is the only one I really used a card trader on. And, I've never gave out my password to anybody, ever. So, I'm trying to, I've thought about, how did someone do this or pull this off? And the only thing I can come up with is that someone put my email into a different device and then got someone from Topps to approve or okay and give them the password. I mean, that's
exactly
the only way the cards could disappear. The only way.
Yeah. Well, basically, it wouldn't be Topps. It may not have actually been Topps. It may have been somebody at Zendesk, possibly, that had done something like this. I don't know how deep their controls go in terms of touching accounts. But there has been a lot of speculation about how exactly this happened. One of the theories also is that once they had your email and a couple other pieces, that they were able to triangulate your information, basically using that and then going at a blunt force hack that way. Another theory also is that they potentially took your email address, then hacked your Facebook account, then used Facebook login on another device to get your account.
Yeah, and so the interesting thing is I don't have Facebook. I don't generally have any social media, or Reddit and Discord are about the extent of that. And I've never had that email account hacked that I know of. So I've never had to change my password on it. So
so in terms of so you're sitting on the toilet and then you see that you've got stuff missing, big stuff. There was gilded, there was nice stuff there, right?
Yeah, I had cards where my name was on the card because I had been a top 10.
So your monument thing.
Monument, yeah. There was gilded. So I had a huge Sabine collection, a huge Ahsoka collection, Rey. I don't know.
All the really hot stuff. They trade around quick.
Yeah. My favorite character has always been Darth Vader. I had a lot of, like, pretty much any variants that were like 50 or less, 25, whatever. I had the entire set of the Rust variants from.
Oh, those are gorgeous and so fucking rare. God damn.
Darth Vader was the award card for that. I think there was only maybe 6 or 4 of those. A lot of those blue steel variants, all that, anything like that gone,
Yeah, so basically all your money's gone. So at this point, all right, so you've seen a letter, you know that something had happened, and now boom, you go in your account and there's all this stuff gone, and you're starting to assess the damage. what's your next move? What do you reach out to tops, obviously.
Yeah, so there's support, which is like a text chat kind of thread on the app. So I went there first, got a response pretty quick. Actually, I should bring that up. And it was just a generic like, hey, okay, we're gonna look into this. What
Yeah, you
happened?
get
Kind of trying to figure it out.
that says that an agent will get you in 24 to 48 hours or something.
Yeah, and then I could tell like relatively quickly it shifted from just like the general like support response person to more like management type of support. Because initially, it's just top support. How can we help? But then people started signing their names to it,
Well, we know all
So,
those names. There's about 6 of them.
so initially it was pretty responsive,
And that,
But
so
then,
pretty responsive, you say at first. Has anything happened since then?
no, so it was pretty responsive. This was so my initial reporting on this was in the beginning of August. And at first there was a lot of communication, but then once August 7th hit, I didn't hear anything for over a month. Started asking for updates and then did get a response saying we're still doing an investigation. I said, okay, thanks. You have a timeline, and then just no response. Full month went by. And then I followed up again and just said, it's been a month since I asked if you could give me some kind of timeline or something. And I just, I said, this is getting ridiculous. Like, what are you doing? And then I just didn't get responded to that.
Well, it sounds to me like you haven't gotten really any communication. You haven't gotten any back and forth with anybody.
I haven't gotten any kind of emails, phone calls. And I mean, I did say at one point, like, hey, you have my contact info, right? You have my cell phone number, you have my email. Yeah, we got it. Like we'll let you know. So the only responses I've gotten from them have been through the app and the text thread. And it's
there's been no mention from them or any kind of formulation of any kind of plan in terms of how they're going to fix this.
Nothing. No.
Okay, that's cool. Well, and now the other parties obviously involved in this. Well, we've got the big bad, the brains behind the operation that did the hack and got the stuff. But we also got just a few accounts basically where most of your trades went out to, where basically this person was selling your stuff off, in the open market. And you've got just a few names, 5, 6 names basically that you mentioned in your thread on Reddit, which I invite folks to go back and look at and see the crosstalk about. Have any of those folks reached out to you or talked to you at all about what happened, and have they offered any personal resolution on their behalf?
Just off the top of my head, I think there were 8 people that traded for the cards. I want to say at least half of them were like one-time trades or just a couple of smaller things where like I would 100% believe they probably just thought they were getting a deal on eBay, didn't know any better. I would say all but maybe a couple have reached out and offered to trade the cards back. Unfortunately, I want to say that the couple who haven't said anything are the ones that took by far the most cards,
the most stuff. Yeah. And I can guess on with one finger one of those names for sure. So there's nothing forthcoming from there. And honestly, I mean, those guys are in a pickle. I'm sure they all had the same kind of oh shit moment when they realized what was going on with this stuff, when they hear hey, there's this situation going on with a stolen account, and there's now we know there was a lot of stolen accounts. This problem is bigger than just you, unfortunately. Right. And there's victims out there that have no idea that they've been hit.
Yeah, it'd be nice if so I mean, I understand like the dead accounts thing, and because when I came into the app, there was cards that I was like, oh man, that's cool, I really want that card, and there's just no way to get it, right? Like someone has it, they're not playing, like who knows, they could have had a big life change or could have passed on, or who knows, and you're not going to get the cards. So I mean, I wish there was a way that they could do something to try to do something about that. I don't know, but I mean, ultimately they say they're your cards, and it's supposed to be one of these deals where you don't have to worry about a fire or a theft or whatever, happening to your actual physical cards. It's all, secure on the app or whatever, but clearly really it isn't. So
Yeah, the reality is a little bit different. So I don't understand how you got here. Honestly, I don't understand fully how they could let it get to this point, and how they haven't found some kind of resolution. They haven't been able to offer any kind of resolution. Um, Maybe they don't know where to start. What would you think would be what they should do? What should they do about this? What can be done, and what would make you feel better about this situation?
maybe, I don't know. I mean, because to be honest, like, so if they came to me and said, "Oh, we're going to give you some ginormous amount of crystals to spend," right, or something, I don't want that. I'm not playing the game anymore. Like that's, ideally I'd get the cards back. If they said, like, here's a few different options, like we can get you the cards back, or we could do some kind of settlement or something that was like probably not anywhere even remotely close to what I did originally, like, whatever. But to just do nothing is just not acceptable. I mean,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they have assets. There's accounts out there like there's the tops. There was the thing that they used to do with the tickets, with the redemption tickets and stuff like that. There's an account with a huge stockpile of all kinds of old shit in there. They may or may not be able to. Stuff like your rusts. No fucking way. They're not getting those back.
yeah, yeah. There was just, I had like, gosh, I had some stuff like probably like half a dozen one of one or one of twos of Sabine. Like, I know I had like both silver gildeds and the gold, whatever. I mean, I had some of that stuff where it was like, yeah, I'm just not trading that. I remember I traded what's it called? I remember this set that came out that was really cool with like Anakin and Darth Maul and with the lightsabers.
Lightsaber warriors.
And like, yeah, something like that. Say, yeah, I don't remember what it was called, but I remember it was like really
It's a dumb name, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Stupid.
It was just.
It had those. It had the tops. It had some of those Dark Horse covers on it. I think.
Yeah, the award card was Darth Vader, I think. But anyways, like I remember I traded. I think it was the Anakin, which was like the really hot one, right? Like I traded an Anakin for like a one of five Sabine because I knew I just wasn't going to get it otherwise, or because I was trying to put together that collection. But so I don't know. Yeah, I'm not getting this up there, or I am, but to someone else's displeasure because I'm sure things have been traded around or people have.
Yeah, I mean, like literally for them to reverse those trades at this point, like every day that goes by, that stuff's been swapped around a million times. And some of the main ones that got a lot of the stuff have moved stuff around all over the place, and they're all you see these same low count cards, you see the same ones over and over and over again. If they're not in their forever home, they just bounce around all over the place. And your stuff's been bouncing around quite a bit. Some of it's probably landed in its new forever homes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I feel really bad about this, and I feel really bad for you. And I wish that somebody at Tops could express even an iota of that level of sympathy for you in some kind of public forum. I do wish that they'd find some way that they could resolve this for you, and also some kind of way that they could reassure the community that this is not going to happen anymore, and figure out, how to make it not.
I mean, you're spinning my wheels about like what would be, I bet you they have.
Well, I ask you that because honestly, the sky should be the limit. In terms of what's happened to you, in terms of how you have been wronged as a result of their lack of attention. What
if someone came along and they had some sort of not crazy valuable, but some sort of reasonably valuable physical baseball card, right? That is just sitting around that they're planning to give away for something or whatever, if they were like, how would you take this, whatever, I don't know, whatever player, I'd probably be like, yeah, I don't know, just do something, right?
They could at least ask. That's what I say. I'm stunned that I'm like the first person to ask you, what would it take to make you feel better about this? It's not that hard to just go to a person and have a conversation about it and try to come to something. I can't do anything for you, but they sure as hell could have, and they could have at least shown some kind of concern.
You know what? Actually, that was also part of what triggered me really getting back into it, and then really realizing what had happened was my parents had all my physical cards, baseball, Marvel, all that kind of stuff, stored in a storage shed, and they decided they didn't want to pay $50 a month anymore for storage, and said, "Come get it, or we're throwing it out." And so I came and got it, and then I just started. That was another thing too that kind of triggered me being like kind of back into collecting. So I might, if everything was just as it was, I might have started spending money and getting back into it. I don't know, but now I'm just.
Well, that's how it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be that you could put the phone down for a year and a half, come back, open it up, and and there's all your stuff, and you could go right back to trading. That's the idea.
Yeah.
No, it's a damn shame, and I'm really very sorry for what's happened to you. And I do hope that Tops at some point will step up and address this. The current regime has been very silent, very uncommunicative with anybody in the community about anything. It would not. They really need to deal with this, honestly.
And it's just. I mean, I know the NFT thing. I'm not super, like. I don't know a lot about that. I'm not any kind of expert or by any means, but I know that's like a big thing coming up. I have, some friends on PlayStation that were talking about that kind of separate from any of this stuff, because they were talking about it in terms of like art and all kinds of stuff, right? And like anything like that now is just going to be, for me, I'm going to be really hesitant. Whereas before this happened, it was something that I probably would have like dabbled in as an early on, like before, ahead of people, but now I'm just
right, because you explore. You're not afraid of technology. You want to get into it, before everybody else does.
Yeah, but it's just now it's really giving me some pause to like think about anything like that.
Well, have you looked? Now let me be the junkie in your life. Have you looked at blockchain NFTs? Hey kid, I got a watch. I'll sell you. It's a little different, just because it is digital, just like what we've done in the apps, except it's decentralized. There's no those servers to shut down, and Tops can't. Once you have your shit, nobody can tell you what you can and cannot do with the stuff.
Hasn't there been? So you'll know more about this than I will. Hasn't there been some issues with some of their sports card apps and stuff, or other apps closing? I mean, I know like Star Wars is.
Yes, and that's why when we talk about our collections in Star Wars and how much we love them and how much they may be worth and how much we may have spent on them, those things can go away, just like Huddle. They had a very prominent football app for years and years, very popular, made them a lot of money. Boom, they lost the license. No more Huddle. And all those cards went into a vault. Nobody can trade them. You can look at them, but there's nothing you can do with them anymore. And they become useless. The value goes away completely. And there's been other apps as well. The Walking Dead is on its way to that as well. And that's always been the terror that we thought we were living under in this app atmosphere, was that an app would shut down and all of our stuff would go away. We never imagined that they would just give somebody the key to our shed and let them take our lawnmower.
Yeah. I mean, I think like Star Wars is such a strong brand in terms of, I'm probably in the minority, but really the only thing that's come out that I didn't like was The Last Jedi. I mean, that's probably the only thing that I pretty much like. Well, some stuff I haven't really looked into, some of the very new stuff like comics or whatever, but I like The Mandalorian and liked all the other movies.
Well, it'll remain to be seen if they're able to hold on to that license. People say, they have such a relationship with Star Wars and that they've been there since day one, but 70 years of baseball didn't help them a whole lot when the money hit the table.
Mind blowing to me. Yeah, it's really like crazy.
Yeah. So that's probably their time span. It can be measured probably. Anything else that you'd like to add? Anything that you want to get out there to either to Tops or to the community regarding your situation?
I just think like, people say this stuff all the time, like change your password, do this and that, like with some sort of frequency, and it's a pain, but it, really is worth it to do it regardless of whether you think there could be a problem or not. And then, I guess just on there and for them, it's just, you have a chance to just do the right thing or try to make things right. And the absolute worst thing you can do is just not communicate, not do anything. Like I know so many people who, rather than disappoint you, they just don't answer or don't say anything.
Right.
That's worse. It's just worse. Like to leave someone just hanging, whether it's something like this or it's, like even if it's just something like, hey, do you want to go get a burger later? And then they just don't answer your text, right? Like, just say no. Like, just at least.
How hard is that, honestly?
At least give the person an answer so they're not sitting there wondering what's going on. And then, if I guess if their intention is to not do anything about it, then just say that, and then I can figure out what I want to do from there. But I think they have an opportunity to try to make it right or do something, to resolve it.
Well, I think that they have an opportunity that they're wasting right now, and I'll direct Tops, direct a comment directly to Tops. This is a person that was very easy for me to get in contact with. It's been very easy for me to get in contact and set up a Zoom meeting and talk to this guy very easily. That I've never met in my entire life for the last half hour. Tops, you could do the same. Set up a voice, talk to a person, look them in the eye, and have a conversation. Okay. Get out from behind your little walls and actually talk to a person, because this guy, actually, you owe him. So get on it, okay? Darthkaep, I want to thank you so much for your time. And again, I'm so sympathetic to what has happened to you. I'm so sorry for what has happened to you. And I hope that there will be some kind of resolution. And I do hope that you won't hold it against the community, where we all feel terrible for what's happened to you.
No, and I guess I will. Like, one last thing to get out there is, I know initially when I blew up stuff on the app and on Reddit, I was referring to people as thieves and everything else. I totally understand now. Like, it wasn't a lot of bad actors, maybe just one or two, and other people got caught up in stuff just as much as I did. So, just as much victims as I am.
Well, you had every right to be outraged, and you still do. And I hope at some point they're going to find some kind of resolution for you. And I thank you again for your time.
Yeah,
folks.
Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you, man. Really do appreciate it. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Call your senators, call your congressmen, or give Tops shit every chance you get about this until they make it right. Thanks again, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Thank you.
We are Legion.
We are all.
We are one.
We are
Watching.